Hey guys, this is Eddie and this is another edition of On Board. Today I'm going to be doing some risers, manifolds, and elbows on my boat. So I use all Merc parts. I have some Merc seals as well, and I'm going to go over some of the tools you're going to need to take care of this job. So let's do that, and then let's get to work on this. So the first tool you're going to need is a 9/16 on a 3/4 inch ratchet. This is going to take off the nuts and bolts on the elbow, and then it's also going to help you with the manifold too as well. Now you're going to need a screwdriver to loosen up all the boots, to take the boots off and the hoses as well. And you may need some extensions, so we have that too. Now when it comes time to put it back on, you are going to have to clean it up. So I have a little whiz wheel. This is for the block, to clean the block. And I have a gasket scraper as well. And then you're going to need a torque socket as well. Okay, got some glue. You're going to put this in certain areas. And I have all the gaskets too as well. From the manifold gaskets to the riser gaskets, and there's some extra plugs that's got to be put in once we get it off. So you're going to need some more tools once we get it off on the bench, and I'll explain that as we get to that point. So right now, let's get these off, let's get to work. So come on board and let's get this done. Okay guys, I'm in my engine compartment and I'm going to get ready to start taking off the elbows, the risers, and the manifolds. So, of course, first place I'm going to start is what's really easy, is taking off this first hose. Okay guys, I took the hose off and we're going to have to take the linkage off. I did forget to mention you're going to need an 11mm socket with a 1/4 inch ratchet. And there's 3 bolts that hold it on, one here, here, and over here. Just put your shifter in gear and this will push back for you so you can get this one that's tucked in really neat over here. Now, I definitely didn't blow something up, so I don't know what the siren's for, but it's not for me. Thank God. Okay, just push the linkage out of the way. Okay, now the best place to get the boot off is right down here where it goes in. Because once you loosen this up, you can slide it up. If you try to take it off over here, it's going to be difficult to pull it out, and especially put it back in. So I'm going to loosen up these right over here. Okay. These hose clamps. Now once those are loose, now I'm going to go and take off the 9/16 for them over here, which is taking off the elbow. Okay, that's 4. So now I'm going to take the elbow off. There's the first part to my puzzle. Okay, now to get the manifold off, there's 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you also have some hoses that connect to it. On this unit, I only have 2 hoses that connect. So I'm going to take those off. Now, a lot of times what I would do is I'll take a picture of where it goes with the camera to make sure I put the gaskets back on correctly and everything's done right. But in this case, I know how it goes. You can see that's the old gasket, and it would go on like this. So I don't need to take a picture because I got film. All set. Okay, so the 2 hoses are on the bottom over here. It's a little hard to get to, especially with my piston in the way. Need my screwdriver. And there's a little T back here. Okay, I got one of the hoses off. The other one I'm having a little bit of trouble with. I put the screwdriver in there, I opened it up. What I'm going to do is take the manifold off and hope I can just pull it out from there. So I'm going to start taking the manifold bolts off. There's 4 of them. You may need an extension depending on where yours are. Mine are pretty much in clear view. Okay. Now I'm gonna hope it comes out with the hose. Yeah, you should try and get the riser off first. Don't be like me. That just pops off. You can tap it with a hammer. It'll make it lighter too. And here is the manifold. Now, it's not really that big of a job. It's just heavy and bulky, which really sucks. And depending on how much room you have, it's going to make it easier or harder. So, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring these to the bench. But before I do that, I'm actually going to change my plugs because I'm here and you can see them all. So I'm going to knock out the plugs real fast, and I'm going to change the spark plug wires. I already did it to the other side, and I'm going to do it to this side too as well. Okay guys, I changed the plugs. I'm just going to change the wires. I mean, this is a simple tune-up stuff, but I'm just going to show you anyway. The plugs are already in. We already had a video on that. The wires, pretty much, you're going to take off the wire one at a time. Grab the wires, that's your new wires, and just match up the length. And that's really it. And you're just going to do that 8 times. Cut to the side. Make sure you get marine wires so no spark flies out of it and your bolt don't go on fire. Okay guys, I have the manifolds off. I changed my plugs like I said because it is easier to do it then. And now I got to clean the gasket, the previous gasket that was on there. So I'm just scraping it right now with a scraper, and then I'm going to clean it with a whiz wheel. If you don't have a whiz wheel, you can just use some emery. That would be fine, or try to use a razor blade to get everything off. But you want to make sure it's clean good so you don't have an exhaust leak when you start the boat up. Okay, that's all nice and clean. So now we're going to go to the bench and get to work on setting up the risers, cleaning up the riser, and setting up the elbow and the manifolds. So let's go do that outside. Okay guys, I have the riser on the bench right now, and what I'm going to be doing is cleaning the gaskets off of here and cleaning the ports too. Now, this basically what it does is just transfer the coolant through the manifold to the elbow. So we're going to clean this up really good and use this again instead of buying it, and it'll save some money. And the way you got to clean it up is you got to make sure that this remains flat, and that's why I'm going to be using a block sander to go over it like this, making sure that it sands it down nice and evenly. Once I scrape it all down. This side's all scraped down already, and this side I'm going to scrape down with the scrapers, and I'm going to clean out the ports over here. So I'm just going to scrape off as much as I can of the gasket. Like that. Got to be all cleaned up. So I'm just sticking it in there and scraping it around, getting as much as I can off. It's a different scraper. Okay, it looks pretty clean. Now, I'm going to really clean it up now by using the sander. And I want to keep this flat, so I don't use the whiz. I don't want to make any kind of indentations anyplace. I want this to be totally flat. Just stay back and forth. So that's pretty flat and nice and clean. So now I'm just going to do the other side. I'm going to change the paper. Alright, hit the other side, and then this is all set to go back in. Okay, this is the elbow. Basically, I'm not going to be using anything from here, so I don't got to clean this, but I do need to get this nipple off for the hose. But I want you to see how it's all closed up over here. This is what happens. It gets all closed up, and then the water can't pass through, and then your boat will run hot. See the one of two ways. My boat, what it was actually doing was at an idle it was running hot, and then when I drove it, it cooled down. So it was enough pressure at a high RPM to push the water through, but not enough at a slow RPM, and that was the manifolds that are bad. So I'm going to take this nipple off, that's the first thing, and then I'm going to take off these hoses. So I do need an 1/16 wrench. Now, this part you do need to use over. Everything else you have new plugs and everything, and you need to use the hose. The two hoses on the bottom that was a pain to get off, that piece you need to take off too. So now I'm just going to take this off over here. Well, now makes a good anchor. Okay, I'm going to take this one. I'm not going to clean it or anything. It's all good for that. All good to go. So now I'm going to put these parts back on. I'm going to use some Teflon tape. This was the extra stuff I didn't mention while we were taking it off at the beginning. I'm not going to tighten the clamp, so I'm going to do that when I get it all set in there. So this is all ready to go back in. So we got the riser, the elbow, and now we have to take care of the manifold. So now we come over here, and once again you can see how the ports are closing up over here, and so the water runs through. And we got to take off this little piece over here. Now it's not an easy task. So, big channel locks. I'm going to get this in the right position so I can pull down on it. Okay, big channel lock to get that. Okay, so now we're going to get the other manifold. Now it goes over in the middle. These two plugs are new replacement ones that we have on the new manifold. So I'm pretty much done with this. Once again, you can use this as an anchor. Okay, now I'm going to be putting the plugs into the manifolds. There's two plugs, and it's a 9/16 Allen key that you're going to need for this. There's one here, and there's another one on the top, a little one. But we're going to get back to that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to lay this down flat so I can get it tight. I'm just going to turn them. Make it as tight as possible. And I don't need Teflon because it comes with the Teflon on there. Okay. And then of course there's one left that goes here, and we're going to need the Allen key for that, which is a 5/16. Okay, that's all good. Now I'm looking nice, and I got to put my water jacket back in. Now this pretty much was facing the front of the engine like that. So that's the same direction I want to get it in as close as possible. Once again, a big channel locks. Now, I'm going to get ready to put this all back together. So we'll get back on board and we'll get this job done. Okay, I'm back in my motor compartment, and now I'm going to get ready to put my risers back on. Now, there are set pins that you can buy, which makes this a lot easier. I already did 3 of my manifolds without it, so I wasn't going to go get it. So what I do is I put 2 bolts in, slide one out, put the gasket in, slide the other one out, put the gasket in, and then put the 2 middle ones in. So, time to get to work. Hope you have your muscles on. Alright, so here it is. And get the 1 pin in and the second bolt in. Not pins, bolts. Now, another good thing is to try to get the back one in first. That's what I always do. Alright, getting that bottom hose is a little difficult. So I try to get it on while it's loose still. Okay, see they're both on. Those bottom ones are a little hard to get, but I always get this one when the manifold isn't bolted on, and as soon as I get it just on like this, I put the second one on over here. So that's good, and now you can see I got some space in between, and that's where I'm going to slide the gasket. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up, be careful with that, loosen up the front bolt. Get it on there, just like that. Snug it up a little. And then get around to the back and slip it in. Alright, so the gasket's now set in there. Now I'm going to take the 2 middle bolts. Put them in hand tight a little bit. And start from the middle. I got 3 torque specs. I got, for the manifolds, 15, 25, and 30. So 15 is about hand tight, which I just did. Just snug. Click. That's 30. 30. Okay, so now that's done. So now I'm going to get ready to put on my riser and the elbow. What I'm going to do is get the gasket on, make sure everything's all good. That's going to go like this. Now, they do say to put some glue around it, so you can do it either way. Some people don't do it at all, but this brown Merc glue is the type that you're supposed to use, and not the whole gasket, just around that part of it, the circle ends. Put that on just like that, and the same thing with the riser. Okay, and you're going to place that on. This goes in the front on the bottom. Line it up the best you can. Okay, going to put it on the top now. I already did this side. And then we're going to go get the elbow. Put that on. First the gasket on the dry joint. This is going to go up, and this is in the front. like that. Now, this is a lot easier when you take the boot off down there because it kind of holds it. Has 4 bolts. Gotta kind of wiggle everything in. Make sure they're all in, you don't strip them. So it's 7 and 45, hand tight's probably a lot more than 7, so you'll be okay with that. So we get the torque socket, the torque wrench. Set this to 45. That's 45. It's 45. Here, click. That's 45. That's 45. Okay, I got all the bolts tightened on the manifold and the elbow, so that's all set. So now I'm going to go tighten all the hoses and put all the hoses on. I'll start with the front one. And tighten the boot hoses. Okay. And the 2 bottom ones that I didn't tighten yet. Alright, so now we gotta hook the linkage back up. Got the electronic right there. Get the linkage, flip it back around to here. Gonna plug it in. Okay. Now I'm just going to get this last one, get the ratchet all ready, 10 millimeter. Do it hand tight always. That's all good. Now there's one last thing to do, which I forgot to do on the bench, was the front plug for the elbow. Do it snug. And then we're going to go get the ratchet. That's all set. Risers are all done. Elbows, manifolds, fuel system's done. I'm going to fire this baby up, make sure everything works okay. And you're good to go. That's about it. So, I hope this helped you out. Once again, my name is Eddie. This is another edition of On Board. I'll catch you next time.